What is going on, Internet? My name is Lou, and I make Linux videos. Today, I'm actually going to be doing a pseudo Linux video, if you will, and we're going to be discussing Android, specifically my device, which is a Samsung Galaxy S4. Now, my particular device is completely stock. It is unrooted, and I am running on a CDMA network. So we're going to get into maybe in a later video why I haven't rooted this particular device yet, but the Samsung Galaxy S4, not the developer edition, but the standard S4 comes with Samsung's proprietary Android overlay, also known as TouchWiz. So TouchWiz, although I believe that they're bringing a lot of innovations through this Android overlay, it's still an overlay, which means that it's going to add a certain amount of bulk and heft to the system that may slow it down. So in my particular case here with the S4, I usually have always had rooted devices, and for those of you who followed me for a long time in this channel, many of you know that I was actually an Android developer for quite some time. I actually started off on the HTC Incredible. I moved over to the HTC Thunderbolt, and then the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. My main ROM project was called Redemption ROM. In fact, I do have some of those videos here on my channel. I was the first developer to actually do video change logs, so I was pretty proud of that. Anytime I release an update to a project or a new project, I would have a video changelog, which was somewhat interactive, and it also put a face to a forum post. Oftentimes in Android, you jump on these forums, and you've got all these developers hiding behind kind of a forum name and a username, claiming that they've done all these things. I was the first person to actually put a face to it, so I was pretty proud of that. But today I'm going to show you guys some tips and tricks that not only are going to improve the speed of your device, it's also going to improve your battery life, and in my opinion, the usability of the device. So if you're a heavy Samsung user, and by that I mean you really take advantage of all of the innovations that Samsung specifically brings outside of vanilla Android, then some of these tips may not be for you. However, if you're not really into a lot of those innovations, and for me, some of those things like air gestures, they're cool in a way, but they're a little gimmicky for me, and in practical day-to-day use, I don't really find a lot of need for them. So I disable a lot of these things, and it greatly improves the overall speed of my device. Some of these tips are going to be pretty elementary. Some of these tips are going to be, a little bit more for the, I guess, intermediate user. But I think overall, it's going to bring a nice, well-balanced Samsung Galaxy 4 package that's going to make the device more enjoyable. At least it does for me. So maybe it will for you. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about developer options. So in order to enable the developer options, you're actually going to go into your settings, go to more, scroll down to about phone, and then you're going to see build number. You're going to tap on build number, I believe it's 7 times, and it should enable developer options. If you back out of that menu one time, you're now going to see underneath date and time, developer options. So that's tip number 1. Developer options is going to allow you to do things like enable USB debugging, so you can actually use the Android SDK to debug your device. It's also going to allow you to use ADB, which is going to let you push and pull files from your device, or SD card if you have an SD card. But it's going to actually allow you to go right into our next tip, which is animation speeds. Now, Samsung loves their fancy animations. However, this greatly reduces the overall speed of the device. I like things instantaneous. So what I'd like you to do is actually go into developer options, and you're going to see window animation scale. You're also going to see transition animation scale and animator duration scale. Now, if you select each of these, you can actually turn these animations completely off. That is going to greatly increase the speed of your device. So that's tip number 2. Turn off your animation speeds, or you can at least cut them in half. Going into tip number 3, we can actually turn off applications. So how do you do that? Or why would you want to do that? Now, some of the applications that I like to disable are a lot of the VZW specific apps. I don't use any of these apps, and I don't need them running. sucking up the resources and battery power on my device. So in turn, I just disable anything I'm not using. So the way that you do that is actually go into your settings, go to more, go to your application manager. Now, in the application manager, you can swipe over, I believe, twice, and you can go to your running apps. Now, when you see one of those running apps, just select it. And if it's an app that you're actually able to, let's see here, stop, you're going to actually be able to have a stop option right within, once you select the app, right within the app. Okay, so you can actually stop that application. For instance, I actually stopped just now the, let's see, Verizon Tones and VZ Navigator. You can force stop these applications, and again, it'll warn you if it's going to inhibit certain functionality within your device. I've also disabled or force stopped TripAdvisor, Polaris Office 5, My Verizon Mobile, IMDb, Flipboard, Caller Name ID, Amazon Kindle, Samsung Watch On. That's a remote. It's actually a pretty cool feature, but I don't need it running all the time because I don't watch TV all that often. So force stopping applications, it's tip number 3. Turning them off will save on battery power and also RAM. So you don't need these things running unnecessarily. Okay, so the other tip, which would be now tip number 4, is going to be turning off gestures. So if you go into settings and you come over to My Device, should be the second tab right next to Connections, you're going to have a selection called Motions and Gestures. Underneath that, you're going to have Air Gesture, Motion, and Palm Motion. Again, these are innovative features. They're cool features, but for me, they take up resources and they bog my system down, and they don't have a lot of practical use for me personally. So I disable all of those gestures. Also, Smart Screen. If you select that option, you're going to have Smart Stay, Smart Rotation, Smart Pause, and Smart Control. Again, innovative features, not for me. Not a lot of practical use, so I turn all of those off. Air View. I also turn off all the Air View features, and voice control. I turn off voice control as well. So I turn all of that stuff off, and it has dramatically increased the performance on my device. So that's tip number 4, and that's turning off gestures. So one of the other things, and this should be enabled by default, but if you go down to the More selection under Settings, and then actually, I'm sorry, it's under My Device and then Display. Scroll down, you should be able to see an option called Auto Adjust Screen Tone. This is going to save power by adjusting the screen tone according to the analysis of the images. So essentially, it's a battery saving feature. I have that checked off by default, and it's going to save you battery, so make sure that's checked off for you too. That is tip number 5. Make sure that you have enabled the auto adjust screen tone. Now this comes down to more of a usability feature for me, but the app drawer drove me insane based on how it categorized things by default. So what I like to do is 2 things in my app drawer. So we're going to come to tip number 6, which is we're going to organize our app drawer, and by that, all you've got to do is hit the Apps button on your home screen, then your menu key, and then you're going to select View Type. This is going to let you have a customizable grid, which you can arrange icons in the order that you'd like, an alphabetical grid, or an alphabetical list. I have mine set to alphabetical grid, so it's going to arrange all my applications alphabetized in a grid format. This is preferably how I like to view my apps. How the S4 comes by default is unorganized and drives me nuts. I much rather prefer alphabetized. Also, what you can do is you can hide applications. So while you're in your app drawer, select Hide Applications. Now this is going to allow you to, a little blank box is going to pop up in the corner of every app, and it's going to allow you now to hide any applications that are unused. So I've hidden a number of applications. In fact, if you select Show Hidden Applications from your menu, you'll see that I've Anything that I've usually force stopped, I'll hide. But other things like a lot of the Samsung specific apps, I'll hide. Any of the VZW apps, NFL Mobile, the Amazon App Store, I don't use any of these things, so I don't want them cluttering up my applications drawer. So I hide all of these applications. So these 7 tips and tricks, in my opinion, on a completely stock, non-rooted Samsung Galaxy S4 has greatly increased performance, battery life, and overall usability of the device. These are just some simple things that you can do to make your experience with your Galaxy S4 a little more enjoyable. I hope you guys like this video. If so, be sure to hit the thumbs up button below, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my channel if you like Linux or Android content, and as always guys, I truly appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.